Hello, everybody. That was very loud. I'm Sally Davies. I'm the chair of Dada Fest, and I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you all for coming, especially in this freezing cold weather. Welcome to the annual Edward Rushton Lecture. It's, as you know, some of you will know, Edward Rushton was a social justice and disability campaigner born in Liverpool. And the lecture we're doing today, we're looking at women's voices and the representation of disabled women in art and popular culture. Our keynote speaker today is Nickie Miles-Wildin, who will be sharing her experience as a woman working in the arts sector. There'll be time for questions and answers afterwards. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to you, Nickie.
Here she is. Look at her. Cheeky face. Oh, here she comes. Here comes trouble. Beep, beep. You got a license for that? How fast can it go? Hello. Good afternoon. And welcome to the Edward Rushton Lecture on the representation of disabled women in the arts. I'm Nickie Miles-Wildin. I'm 4 foot 10 inches tall, bleached white, short, pixie cut hair. I'm sat in my PAL wheelchair. I'm wearing tan brown boots, black trousers, black shirt, flowery jacket. I got it off eBay, bargain. And I've also got black glasses on. I'm a theatre maker, associate director for Graeae Theatre Company. I'm young company programme manager at the Royal Exchange Theatre in Manchester. I'm one half of, you might have seen me as Beryl in Beryl and Cyril's Bingo Lingo, Bucka Brenda shows on the outdoor art scene. I'm an artist, I'm a woman, and I'm disabled. And I'm here to ask, who's calling the shots for women in the arts? I think we all know the answer to that. So before I get onto that fully, I'd like to start with a little bit about myself and my journey to working in the arts. So words and language. So the word disabled. That's been much easier for me to say than woman or even a theatre director. I'm at ease with the word to me. It brings a lot of history and fight with it. It makes me feel comfortable, honest, proud. I'm standing and sitting on the shoulders of giants. The word woman, that makes me feel valid. An identity I'm also proud of, as I think of those who have gone before me and paved the way for women's rights. But there are elements of the word woman that make me feel uneasy. My body is very different to that of a non-disabled woman my age. I have swollen ankles that cannot don the latest pair of fashionable Ugg boots. I'll never wear high heel shoes without dislocating my knee replacements or breaking my fused left ankle. I put my bra on back to front, you know, the same way I take it off. And taking off a pair of tights with a grabber is never the norm of seductiveness we are taught or indeed that we see. Makeup can sometimes be a no-go due to the lack of energy and ability to lift my hand to my face in the mornings. When I was younger, and probably still today, I favoured trousers over skirts. I was afraid of getting my legs out, what they looked like. Tracky trousers, you know, the Kappa ones with the buttons on, circa kind of 1992. They were my favourite fashion accessory. High tops and hoodies. Maybe that was my non-conforming to gender years, but I think it was also my hate my body years. Society made me feel like I wasn't feminine. And I think that's still an inward battle I face today. Also, having a baby-sounding voice, no one ever believes that I'm a 41-year-old woman. I'm rarely seen as a woman, more as a girl. An inspiration, you little thing you cheeky face. Oh, here comes trouble, look at her now. That's constantly what I hear. But disabled woman, now you're talking. This is my warrior, my true identity. I am, I am. From the age of about 18, I used the word disabled to describe myself. I felt represented by Lisa Hammond and Francesca Martinez on Grange Hill. Their impairments weren't the focus of their characters. I loved watching Mandy Colleran and Ali Briggs on BBC Two's From the Edge. Some of you might remember that, some of you might be too young. The lads were there too, like Matt Fraser, I think he was on like Eurotrash, and Mick Scarlett. But it was the women who made me feel empowered. They were speaking to me. I was no longer the only disabled in the town. This was the start of my political journey. It was at the grand old age of 22 that my life changed. And this was through a training weekend in a cabin on the edge of Southampton and the New Forest. I fell in love with a model. Head over heels in love with the most gorgeous model to date. This had never happened to me before. They changed my life. I no longer blamed myself for having an impairment, that I couldn't do things as well as my peers. They taught me to love myself and not be ashamed of who I am, that it's okay to use my wheelchair. They urged me to use my voice and speak up for what I believed in. Everything they stood for made sense to me. With them in my life, my relationship at the time started to suffer. I was changing. I was speaking out. To this day, I owe a lot to that weekend in a cabin. Me and the model still remain together. I am referring, of course, to the social model of disability. We were introduced on Disability Equality Awareness Training Weekend. The social model taught me that my impairment does not disable me, but the physical and attitudinal barriers society places on me is what does. I am disabled by society. I am a disabled woman. I am a proud disabled woman. A proud disabled woman working in the arts sector in the UK. Wow. To be able to say that I am making a living being a disabled female identifying artist in the UK is mega. I'm not sat here in my ivory tower spreading the word about how wonderful life is. I mean, it has taken me years to get here, and I've met many different attitudes along the way. First of all, from being refused joining local youth theatres back home in Cheltenham, where I grew up, as they couldn't handle a disabled kid in a chair. I found my love for drama at Guild Guides. Yep, the women in blue, they got me through. I loved working towards my entertainer badge, putting on Christmas shows. I did lip syncing acts. I think Elvis Presley's version of Blue Suede Built Up Shoes was my favourite. To sort of making stories coming to life around the campfire. This spread into school, English classes. I performed everything I did. Even at home, my sister Lisa and I acting out bits from Annie, Oliver, and any film that we watched. Even going out on our bikes turned into bike shows. You go this way, I'll go that way. Let's do figure of 8. I studied A-level theatre studies. I applied to drama schools, only to be turned away due to the lack of access, as well as we don't offer training to disabled actors as there is limited roles for them afterwards. Right. I studied theatre and media drama at the University of Glamorgan. I'd chosen the most inaccessible campus as it's on the side of a Welsh valley, hence why I upgraded from a manual wheelchair to a power one. Never looked back. And it was during my first year at uni that I devised a one-woman show about being disabled and my experiences at feeling marginalised by society. It had a profound effect on my peers. They all felt insulted. They didn't talk to me for over a week. We had to have a chat about it. And they realised that how they felt was not me hating them, but it was their guilt at how I was treated by society. The university loved this show. We named it 3 Foot Off the Ground, and they supported me to take it to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 1998. Part of the show was that the audience were blindfolded, and this was not to show blindness, but to make them not judge me. Allow them to follow my voice, to have to rely on other people, as I spent my life having to. If people didn't want to be blindfolded, they didn't have to be. I talked about my experiences as a disabled woman, from being called inspiration to discovering myself as a sexual being. Disabled audiences loved it. They said it was like I was in their heads, like I was reading out their diaries, I was speaking their words. Non-disabled people stopped me on the Royal Mall and talked about how it had remained with them. 3 foot off the ground, it was the beginning for me. It allowed me to have a say in a creative way. I started to feel empowered. After uni, I didn't know what to do. And then my mum saw an advert in the stage newspaper. It was for an apprentice stage manager at the Nuffield Theatre in Southampton, an initiative set up by the Arts Council England to get more disabled people working in mainstream theatre, particularly backstage, as there were very few. There still is today, 19 years on, something we need to address. Anyway, I applied, and next thing I knew, I was off to live in Southampton. A great 2.5 years learning how a theatre works in-house, backstage, and on the road. We toured 2 shows for young audiences in rep up and down the country, playing schools and art centres. I was driving a massive, big, white van for 2.5 years. I loved it. And I had an amazing, it was quite a tiring time, lots of get-ins, get-outs, but I learned a lot from experienced stage managers, and they weren't all men, I hasten to add. But that little fire in my belly, it still nagged to act. And it was in 2003 that I had my first acting job with Graeae Theatre Company, and this was touring schools. It meant I got my equity card, whoop whoop. And being in London, I started to meet more disabled artists. I met Mandy Colleran, Caro Parker, Liz Carr, Lisa Hammond, Ali Briggs, Jenny Seeley, the late Sophie Partridge, Sophie Stone. I'm checking I'm not going too fast for the finger spelling. Julie McNamara. And this is where my life changed forever. These were my women, my squad, if you go by what Taylor Swift says. I met the men too, you know, Jamie Bedard, Simon Startin, Dave Toole, Matt Fraser, Amit Sharma, Mick Scarlett. But it was the women that meant a lot to me. Acting was difficult as a disabled woman. Firstly, just generally, there's a lack of female roles anyway. Then the impairment thing. Lo and behold, if we ever want to be cast in a role that's not disabled focus. I'm not sure we're even quite there yet, even in 2019. How are we portrayed in the arts? In theatre, it's usually sort of the friend. It's never the love interest. A highlight for me was playing Laura in The Glass Menagerie. Do you know that play? Yeah, it's by Tennessee Williams. And Laura is described as the kind of the crippled sister of Tom, the main character. And I was like, great. I'm actually playing, I was one of the first disabled women to play this disabled role. It's usually given to a non-disabled actor who is praised for her believable limp and her waif-like acting. It was all going brilliantly, and then I got a review. Ooh. And that review said, and I quote a little bit of it, that they were fascinated by the way I looked. Determined that my legs were prosthetic limbs, they spent time trying to spot the join at the top of my legs. and that my arms are like stuffed white cotton socks that hardly bend at the elbow. Nothing about my acting. This didn't do great things for my confidence, and I started to doubt the industry even more. Like I said, one of the first disabled actors to play that disabled character in his mainstream play, but yet this wasn't being celebrated. No. It came down to what I looked like. I mean, this was topped off when an agent, aimed specifically at disabled artists, an agent, let me say that works with disabled artists, told me that I would never get work if I didn't lose weight. Yep. Here I was, wanting to change the tapestry of theatre world, but facing the same barriers as my non-disabled peers, it would seem. Weight and looks. Equal? Maybe. And as I soared into the sky, playing Miranda in the Paralympics opening ceremony 2012, I was conscious of what I looked like. How I, and indeed this ceremony, would be perceived by the audience watching. I said to my co-star, Dave Toole, hang on, Dave, let's be honest, no one's going to watch us, are they? Let's enjoy it for what it is, but not kid ourselves, eh? Luckily, I was wrong. 70,000 people in the stadium that night and about 500 million worldwide. And even the next day, the Daily Mail was celebrating it. Whoop, whoop. They usually hate us. I was proud to be part of that ceremony, working with some of my closest mates, showing the world how the UK leads the way in disability arts and disabled-led work. I gave up acting in 2015. I only perform sort of street theatre and outdoor work now. The fire in my belly for it has begun to die out. And part of that was that I wasn't being challenged or having the opportunity for meaty roles like my non-disabled peers. Auditions were few and far between. And unless you looked like a non-disabled person using a wheelchair, i.e. no different or a potential Paralympic, then the industry didn't want to know. But I also realised that I loved making work. I didn't want to give up and bow out. If anything, the 2012 ceremony showed me that audiences value our work. They are open to new narratives, that we can push form and expectations. And I wanted to be part of pushing those narratives, seize the opportunity, have my voice in the mix. I'm a theatre director. I love making work for all audiences, young and old. I set up a company in Gloucestershire, Toucan, and that now has a youth theatre of 25 young people who meet every Monday night for drama, disabled and non-disabled. We run comedy classes, voice workshops, and summer schools. Kind of beats all those that told me they could never take a person in a chair. Through my work as associate at Graeae, I'm nurturing emerging writers, and over the next 3 years of programming, we're hoping to take them from early to mid-career writers. It's really important that we start getting the disabled narrative centre stage. It has to be the narrative by disabled people, not the non-disabled narrative about disabled people. It has to be our stories. That's me. That's where I am. That's where I've come from. Did you spot those gatekeepers or the people that were calling the shots on my opportunities? Yeah? So let's start those youth theatre leaders in Gloucestershire. Most of them, white, male, non-disabled, or alternatively, Laura Ashley wearing white, non-disabled middle-class women. Other curtain fabrics are available. They prevented me from getting access to the arts. Those drama school panels that say audition, you have to be a certain look or a certain look really, I think, to get into drama school. Those panels made up of non-disabled white men. I have been supported through my career by disabled women, disabled men, non-disabled men, non-disabled women. Some of these have also not seen me as an artist, more as a tick box for one project and then easily disposed of when disability was the trend at that time. Others, however, have championed my work. And part of my reason for leaving acting, it was the lack of roles. I mean, when you look at theatre, it's made up of this thing called the canon, which has been invented by a white non-disabled man. And that represents theatre since its began, kind of from Greek tragedy, Greek drama, up till kind of 1960s, 1970s. Most of those written by men. And it's really hard to find, as an actor, and even as a director thinking about those plays, how do they represent me? Where's my story in that? And what's really, I was thinking about this the other day, what's really interesting was, I was talking to someone about, because I work at the Royal Exchange, and Sarah Frankham has just left her post there as artistic director, and she's gone to be head of LAMDA Drama School. And she was co-artistic director in 2008 at the Exchange and became sole artistic director in 2015. And someone that I was talking to in the building said that Sarah had done a lot for that theatre and for women. And I said, can you expand on that? What do you mean? And she said, well, before Sarah, the roles for women were those sort of bonnet-wearing roles. It didn't feel like it was a true identity to women. It was all sort of like Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. Whereas now what Sarah's done is kind of change that. So we've had Maxine Peake playing Hamlet, Julie Hesmahar on our stages, recently as Mother Courage, really taking those roles and shifting them to be women of today. And I was like, I really want that for disabled actors. Like, make it more relevant to us, to today, so it doesn't feel like we're still wearing our bonnets. I don't know when we'll get there, but it's a constant fight, that we can be that love interest. It's been a hard slog, and I do love doing what I do. But at the age of 41, I can't help but fear I'm past it already. Did anyone read Lynn Gardner's latest article in The Guardian, I think it was, and in The Stage, about seeing people who have got into the arts late in life and how we should value their work? We shouldn't always be looking for the young, that actually those that get into the arts, they have real value. I mean, I've worked in theatre for 19 years, but I'm still 10 years behind my non-disabled peers. And why is that? For women across the arts anyway, it's difficult. Who is calling the shots? I think we all know. It is an industry run by the white non-disabled patriarchy. And that's got to change. We deserve a place at the table. Our stories are valued, important. I don't want to stay at the side, or if it's like a family party, there's only so long I can be at the kids' table and be the fun. I want a place at the adults' table and taken for who I am and what I know. The knowledge and life experiences we have are valid. And hopefully we are emerging from being emerging. Emerging. That's the word we hear a lot as disabled women in the arts. We're constantly emerging. The reason we are emerging is because our work is rarely seen. We rarely get the opportunity to make it in mainstream venues. As a theatre director, I am limited to which theatres and spaces are accessible for me to make work in. I can't access your bog standard fringe venue or pub theatre, as they're usually upstairs with no wheelchair access. I'm limited to what shows I can go and see, as there's a real limited amount of wheelchair spaces. How can I learn my craft if I can't see work or make it as easily as my non-disabled peers? We need to be able to fail with our work. That's how we learn. We learn from our mistakes, as well as seeing other people's. And those bigger venues that do have the wheelchair access see me as a risk because they don't know my work. Risk. That's a really interesting word. And surely the use of it deems who is calling the shots. Recently, I was at one of the UK's leading theatres, and this theatre, let's say it's in a place called London. Let's say it receives millions of Arts Council England funding year on year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And we started talking quotas. From 2016 to 2021, they vowed that their quota will be 50-50 with male-female playwrights, 50-50 male-female directors. 20% of their work will be directed or written by artists of colour. I waited for the disability quota. It didn't come. Nah, not there. It appears in some of these mainstream establishments that work by anyone who is not white and not non-disabled and not male is deemed a risk. They actually use that word, risk. What is the risk? I know I can be a fire risk. I've been called that many times in my life, but come on. Are our stories not deemed good enough or important enough for their stages? That's what I want to know. And how are they measuring this risk? Not by audiences. And then that got me thinking about this marvellous thing that the Arts Council have, that some people go, no, this really helps break the ground for women in the arts, disabled women in the arts. And that's this creative case for diversity. Really? We're a case now, are we? We have to have this special thing put around us. Because to me, I just find it really sad that white non-disabled organisations have to be reminded that the world is not just theirs, that there are other stories to be told. We have to have a creative case. We have to be a study. To me, it makes it become a trend. I feel it makes us feel like, are we puppets being used by the art movement? And many times throughout this, I've found that I've become a consultant, giving advice. That's great, but I also want to be a leader. I do want to be that artistic voice in the room. And then looking at this creative case for diversity, what it sets out to do, to so say get all these different voices in the space, I thought I'll have a look how many organisations funded by the Arts Council England are deaf or disabled led. Does anyone know what percentage of those organisations are deaf or disabled led? Have a guess. Yeah. 5%? Close. A little bit higher. Yeah. 80, did you say? Yeah. No, lower. 7, did you say? 7% indeed. Yeah. 7% of those organisations are deaf or disabled led. However, there is no breakdown of the male-female ratio, so I can't tell you what that is. Can anybody name any of those organisations? Look at you, all shouting them out. Graeae. Any others? Dada. What was that one? Rod. Okay. Any more? Fittings Arts. Definitely. Theatre. So we all need to go home and do our research. Find out what that 7% is and who they are. I've waffled quite a lot, sorry. But I also think as a woman, like when you start writing this down, it starts making you think, why do I feel all these things? And as a woman, sometimes I feel inferior. And I think there's a real difference between disabled women and disabled men through how we're perceived by society. I think for disabled women, potentially seen as fragile, as broken. Whereas for disabled men, and I'm probably going to get hated, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my point of view. But I think sometimes for disabled men, it's easier, whether they're seen more as heroes, easier to accept. I don't know. I'm throwing that out, a provocation. And I just wonder, is this common culture or is it just how I perceive the world as a disabled woman? And also thinking about TV, disability representation, the last leg. All men. Come on, there are some funny disabled women out there. Get them on the panel. So we know who the gatekeepers are, and we know who are calling the shots for disabled women in the arts. How do we stop this happening again and again to ourselves and for other people? I think that we keep making the work that we do. Yeah, it's a bloody struggle, but we keep doing it because we love it. I think we have to celebrate women in the arts. Let's have another little bit of audience participation. I do love audience participation. Who are the women in the arts? Shall I give you my list first of all? And we can see if we can add to it. I'm going to go really slowly. I promised I would. Are you ready? Okay. I've got Helen Keller. Obviously, they're not all alive. Frida Kahlo. And if you don't know these people, go and find out who they are. Liz Carr. Shirley Houston. Lisa Hammond. You see a trend? These are all the people I watched on telly when I was younger. Francesca Martinez. Genevieve Barr. I'm checking you got the right spelling. Kirina Stammel. Kirina Stammel. Rosie Jones. Mandy Colleran. Samantha Renke. Lara Stewart. Georgie Morell. Storm Toulis. Ali Briggs. Marley Matlin. Ruth Madeley. Sophie Stone. Jess Tom. Jo Verrant. Jackie Hagan. Giving me the side eye over there. Tammy Reynolds. Mandy Revers Rowe. I'm just listing my mates now. Jenny Seeley. Melissa John. And even, this is what I really want to celebrate. The Royal Shakespeare Company have got Amy Trigg, Karina Jones, Charlie Arrowsmith, all in their season at the moment. That's more than one disabled person. Wow! I think we need to celebrate that fact. What I'd like to do now, that's just my list. It's a very quick list. There's probably 25 more I could add on there. But what I'd like to do now is for you to turn to the person next to you and you'll come up with a disabled woman that you know that's working in the arts, and we're going to share them back. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Off you go. One minute. That's my holding music. 30 seconds. It doesn't matter if you can't think of one, people can help you out. I'm going to write these down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Okay. Shall we? Who'd like to go first? Can you take us? Hey, get out of the way. Yeah, go on then. Sarah, tell us about Sarah Fisher. Who is she? Okay. Sarah Fisher, musician. Yeah. Anyone else? Tanya Lee Davis. Tell us who she is. Comedian. Brilliant. I can't believe I'd missed her off my list. Yeah. At the back. Hannah Madness. Who's that? Brilliant. Okay, cool. Everyone get to St. Helens. Anyone else? At the back. Okay, cool. What was their name again? Joni Turner, brilliant. Okay, anyone else? Here? Paula Garfield. Tell us who Paula Garfield is for people that don't know. Yeah, definitely theatre. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant at the back. Who's Joe Bannon? Cool. Brilliant. Thank you. Did you have another one here? Yeah.
Alison. Alison Jones.
Who's Alison Jones? Who's she?
She's Scottish woman, but she's an artist herself. She's a Liverpool visual artist.
Alison Jones, Liverpool visual artist. Love it. Anyone else? Let's go. Oh, there's another here front row. Go on.
Yes. Denise Armstrong.
Yeah. Denise Armstrong, dancer. Second row here. It's all right. Let's just go behind. The one behind them will come to you. Yeah. Come. Caro Parker, yeah. Science song, yeah. An actor, brilliant, yeah. Go here again. Alexandra James, she in Jungle Book at Derby, deaf actor. Is that right? Yeah, she's in the night before the Elf Christmas. Yeah, I know. Alexandra James, brilliant. Anyone else? Let's just go at the back. Yeah. Julie McNamara, yeah. Millie Dollar. Yeah, over here. Say that again. Tell us about them. Who are they? Frida Kahlo. Okay, cool. Yeah. Frida Kahlo, brilliant. Down here. Ah, tell us your name. We can also look out for you. Brilliant. Ellie's Playhouse, brilliant. So we look out for you as a director. Yeah, good. Good. No, do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Isabel Russell. Is that right? Look out for you. Any more for any more? Okay, I'm adding you to my list. Rosal, Isabel Rosal. At the back, Claire Cunningham. And over here, Nadia Naraja, another deaf actor, who's at the Royal Court at the moment, I believe. Fantastic. Oh, one more there. Who's Becky Rich? Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. About that, brilliant.
Go to meetings.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's brilliant. Well, that's made my list grow. So I hope it's made your list grow. Go on then. I've got to finish in a minute. Come on, go on. Is she deaf? Dancer? Yeah, okay, cool. One. Oh, and at the back, tell me. Catherine Alanello. Yeah. Yeah, check it out. It's very funny. Catherine Alanello. Wow, that's a mega list. Let's keep adding to it. Go home and Google those people. Other online search engines are available. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I'm really conscious as a disabled woman that I'm helping with the ladder. I'm already sitting on the shoulders of giants, and I'm not dismissing that. I really appreciate the work that those people have done before me. And I'm keeping the ladder that I've slowly stair lifted my way up. I'm keeping it down, and I'm lowering it, and I'm helping the others to come up. It's really important to look after that next generation, particularly if you are a gatekeeper. We have to allow different people's stories to be told. We need to change the cultural landscape. There has to be investment in disabled writers, artists, and leaders. I think a way to look at it as well is to engage in conversations with people, have a coffee or a peppermint tea, whatever takes your fancy. We are artists. And be prepared to listen, and don't feel you have to have an answer straight away. Take your time, think about it. You don't always have to have a solution either, but just have those conversations. And a big one for me is, should we start calling organisations out on how they treat women, how they treat disabled women? I've begun to. I've started asking what their quotas are. What are they doing about it? How are they engaging with people? But there's always that fear that I may never work again in the industry. Can I afford to do that? And I think it depends on who you have the conversation with and how. I've learned to listen, hold back, and think carefully about how I need to word what I want to say. Some people will surprise you. They are open for that dialogue. That said organisation, the one in London that gets millions, I'm having a dialogue with them about their quota because it's just not good enough. I also think there's something about unifying and unity. I wonder if we should all start to think about the social model as the way forward. Should that be at the heart of our practice? Can we bring that to the heart of other people's practice? Is there a shared language? Through that model, I think there is, around disability. I look at some disabled people and they hate the word disabled, and that destroys my heart. And until we understand as a movement that we do need to have a sense of unity, I'm worried that we're never going to keep going forward. We seem so spread out. I think we need to look at the artists of colour movement. They seem to be more cohesive in what they're doing, and maybe that's their shared language. And also think about language when you describe work. When you see a piece of work by a disabled artist, by a disabled woman artist, don't have low expectations. So you see that work and you go in like, oh, it was really lovely. It's really inspirational. Well done that you did it. Nah. Go in and talk about that work. Talk about the artistic quality, what you thought they were doing with that work, what you thought their vision was. Think about how you talk to a disabled woman. Is it the same way you talk to a non-disabled woman, the same way you talk to a non-disabled man? No. Talk about the artistic quality of the work. We need to have a place at the table. If you run an organisation, think about your board members. Who's on your board? There's a serious lack of disability representation on boards in general, not just in the arts. We are a wealth of experience. We come with a lot of knowledge, and we can change the attitudes of organisations. And that list of women that we've just made, let's make it grow over the next 5 years. Go and research another disabled woman. I really want to put an end to every disabled person saying, sorry, thank you, sorry. That comes with confidence. And in order to find your confidence, you need to find your squad. Assemble your Avengers around you. Who are those disabled people you want in your team? And I'd like to change the, oh, look at that cheeky face, here comes trouble. And I want to replace it with, hello, Nickie, how are you? Inside, they're probably saying, fuck, here she comes. But outwardly, they're not patronising me. And having seen Hannah Gadsby only a couple of weeks ago, I kind of want to live by her words, that I'm not here for your pity, I'm here to disrupt your confidence. And together, I think we can make a change. And not to sound too naff, but we are family, and I've got all my sisters with me. Thank you very much.